Good evening, folks. A hearty welcome to our drive-in theater. We have a wonderful evening's entertainment lined up for you, one that will provide several hours of pleasurable relaxation and diversion for you and your family. Did you fail to dress up for tonight's show? No tie, an old shirt and slacks, a house dress? Well, don't give it a thought. We're glad you came as you are. We just want you to enjoy yourselves. Don't forget to visit our refreshment center during the intermission or any time. You love the tasty array of snacks we have to offer. So will the youngsters. Everything is quality and so good. We hope you'll make this a weekly visit. Bring the family. Bring your friends. There are always wonderful new pictures to see, delightful snacks to nibble, a gay, pleasant evening for all. Oh, a word of caution. Don't drive over 10 miles an hour in the theater area for your safety's sake. And Mom or Pop, go with the kids when they leave the car. We hope you have a wonderful time. Come back soon.
It's 4 minutes till showtime.
Hey, fellas, don't fight over that hot dog. There's plenty for everyone. Big, plump, and juicy, wrapped in an oven-fresh bun. Add mustard, relish, ketchup, and go to work. Yes, the hot dogs at our refreshment center are the best you'll find anywhere. Everybody agrees on that.
It's 3 minutes till showtime.
Thirsty? The refreshment stand is open with everything to satisfy your taste buds. Here's the menu: the hottest, freshest, crunchiest popcorn, each kernel popped to its fullest with that real movie time taste. Cold drinks. You'll find your favorite ice cold, tasty, and thirst quenching. And hot dogs, hamburgers, and candy too. Now a short intermission, so you'll have time to make your selection before the show begins.
It's 2 minutes till showtime.
Your attention, please. All new hotshot electric in-car heaters have been installed for your comfort and convenience. Just insert heater through car window and turn on the switch. When leaving, please turn switch off and replace on speaker post. Warning, high voltage. For your own safety, do not attempt to repair or remove wires. Do not attempt to open heater unit. If you need assistance, please notify the theater box office or concession manager.
Top quality hamburgers, the most popular snack in the country. We serve them plain or garnished to your taste.
There are words men live by, words of strength, of wisdom, and of peace. We urge you to find the spiritual comfort and guidance we all so greatly need by attending your place of worship regularly.
Just 1 minute to go.
And now, on with the show.
The following program is brought to you in living color. The whole Earth will be brought to you in living color, visible and invisible. Your children's children will tell it, how in the 20th century, people went into space, saw the whole Earth, and learned that we live on a rare and precious world. Space journeys have shown us other planets, barren and wasted, in startling contrast to our one and only Earth. Yet we face many problems, such as giving the world's people enough food to eat and enough clean air to breathe. We are starting to control visible pollution, but most pollution is invisible. How can we see all the kinds of pollution? We are increasing the yield of our farms. Still, we lose up to 1/5 of our crops every year through blight and disease, mostly invisible until it's too late. How can we see the sick crops in time? How can we see, looking down on the Earth, the many invisible things which need to be seen? We can see them if we learn to sense not only the light which made these photographs, but also the hidden radiation constantly coming from the Earth, such as infrared and ultraviolet light. The light you see is recognized in terms of colors. And now, even that light you cannot see can be recognized in terms of other colors. Colors I call invisible colors. How can we use them to fight blight and disease, to fight pollution, to help understand and manage Earth resources? A new technology called multispectral sensing reveals invisible light in new ways. In these visible displays, colors can be assigned arbitrarily. For example, red is often used for infrared. In this film, you will see how our vision can be expanded. You will see how these technologies show us the whole Earth. And you'll see what kinds of problems can be solved. To start, let's take a closer look at color. Here is a familiar object giving off more light than you can see, infrared light, which you can feel as heat. In the electromagnetic spectrum, visible light is limited to a narrow band less than 1 octave wide. You see red light about 700 nanometers in wavelength. Other colors extend to violet, about 400 nanometers in wavelength. You see less than 1 octave of light. How would it be if you could hear only 1 octave of sound? A player piano puts out a wide range of sound frequencies. People hear over a range of 8 octaves. A young person of high school age hears even more. Suppose you could hear only about 1 octave. Let's block off the notes, all except about 1 octave. Your eyes are limited to a 1 octave band of vision. And just as 1 octave is not enough to hear the full range of the player piano, so 1 octave is not enough to see what you need to see for Earth resources. The 1 octave you see is a small part of the whole light spectrum. Here, on a scale corresponding to the piano, are the extra octaves of invisible color. Beyond violet, ultraviolet. Beyond red, infrared. Several octaves are made visible by multispectral scanning. Sometimes in this film you hear sound tones corresponding to colors of specific frequencies, whether they are visible or normally invisible. For this low-frequency light, a low-frequency sound tone. We don't even have a name yet for this low-frequency color because it has never before been seen in this fashion. Contrast the same place in an ultra-high-frequency image, another invisible color. Look at several different colors at the same time, and sometimes in combination with photographs, which are usually limited to the narrow band of visible light. In the broad spectrum of visible and invisible colors, you can learn more from visible displays of multispectral imagery. Let's see how. You see your world of visible colors, as in this color television test pattern, by seeing combinations of certain basic colors. All these colors are made with just red, green, and blue. But when you sense a color, your eye cannot tell the bands that make up that color. When light of about 500 nanometers mixes with light of about 700 nanometers, you see an average, a light of about 600 nanometers, and you call it yellow. In a color mixture, the eye does not separate individual frequencies. In sound, your hearing does, something like multispectral sensing. We'll demonstrate using a Moog synthesizer, which makes music electronically. Like a tuning fork, the Moog generates pure tones of single frequencies. Here's a fundamental sound, frequency 500 hertz. Here is 700 hertz. Now, both at once. Do you hear them as an average? No. You can separate different sounds in a mixture. And so you can recognize a clarinet by its sound mixture, a pattern of frequencies. A flute has a different combination of the same frequencies. Its spectral pattern helps you to recognize it. An oboe has still a different combination of the same frequencies. Your hearing can recognize the differences. You are doing pattern recognition, something we can program a computer to do with the separately sensed colors in mixtures of light coming from objects on Earth. Using different combinations of multispectral images, we can learn to discriminate among the millions of different spectral patterns, each one caused by some object on the Earth radiating in a characteristic way. How are these technologies used to see the whole Earth, to manage Earth resources? First, we need a scanner. This one is a large aircraft scanner set up for ground test. Scanners can sense light far beyond the human eye and far beyond any lens or film. It's called a scanner because a rotating mirror scans the light from the Earth and sweeps it into a complex optical system. Here the light is split up in many different visible and invisible colors and is detected by sensitive instruments. Other kinds of multispectral scanners are mounted in unmanned spacecraft. Through solar panels, these spacecraft draw energy from the sun. They observe the Earth from orbit for periods of 1 year and longer.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
The satellite is launched into a polar orbit. With television-like cameras and multispectral scanners, the satellite orbits at about 900 kilometers in a sun-stabilized orbit. The Earth turns under it, so the systems can see the Earth in paths, the whole Earth every 18 days. Looking at the same area every 18 days shows changes in the Earth, both man-made changes and natural changes. To this unmanned satellite, it's always mid-morning on the Earth. A much larger satellite, Skylab, carries people into orbit for direct work with multispectral scanners and other sensing instruments. Inside Skylab, astronauts and scientists help to focus multispectral instruments on places of specific interest. It's a big Earth, and we want to be able to concentrate on areas of greatest value to the people on Earth. As a complement to the manned and unmanned recorders and instruments in orbit, other instruments, like this thermal mapper, are carried in aircraft, small and large. Instruments in aircraft observe in finer detail than satellites, but over much smaller areas. These flights combine the human factor, color film, radar, and observations, along with multispectral scanning. Images are recorded electronically in such detail that the information on this one tape could overwhelm all the photo interpreters in the world if this tape had to be interpreted manually. Ground stations combine the computer's ability to handle large amounts of data with the investigative talent of people. Some tapes are read directly. Other tapes, recorded in orbit, are received at NASA stations by telemetry radio. These systems make images of the Earth you could never otherwise see. This must be done quickly, for some parts of the Earth change rapidly, as when snow and ice melt. Speed is also important, so data from orbit can be compared with ground truth. Instruments similar to those in spacecraft and aircraft measure light from known objects for recognition of the same object elsewhere. What does it mean to have such multispectral capabilities, using computers, spacecraft, aircraft with remote sensing instruments? What kinds of whole Earth problems can be solved with visible and invisible colors? Researchers and scientists carry on investigations in many fields. One problem we've mentioned, the loss of up to 1/5 of our crops every year due to infestation and disease. And in remote areas, entire forests are lost before we even realize it's happening. Here are invisible colors made visible for investigation and inventory. In this false color, the bright red patches help us to recognize healthy, growing rice crops. The blue patches are fields of burned grain stubble. Images such as these lead to more food and fibers through continuous inventories of timber, soil, and plants, and by recognition of crops. Here, for example, is a computer-processed image which has separated just one kind of crop, winter wheat. Recognizing crops by spectral patterns in such images from space is a step toward inventory of the world's changing food supplies. Dense vegetation shows along the streams in the bright red of healthy crops. In contrast, sick crops will show darker because they have a different temperature, something like sick people. Sick crops can be located while there is still time to treat them. In a remote area of healthy vegetation, the satellite records a forest fire, perhaps unseen by people. Multispectral sensing can see exactly where the fires are, even through clouds of smoke. It can recognize the vegetation associated with mosquitoes, so you can treat with insecticide only where it will do good. You can avoid spraying insecticides where they're not needed. Other kinds of problems come in managing water and ice. 3/4 of the Earth's surface is water, yet no country has enough water in the right places. This city on the ocean pipes in fresh water from rivers hundreds of miles away. Water is needed to irrigate agricultural fields. Water from snow-covered mountains can be useful. It can also cause floods. Continuous inventory of water and melting ice, even in remote regions, means better management of water resources. We are locating the best spots to harvest the fish and other resources of the sea. Other problems face us. What are the limits of Earth's capacity to support population and industrialization? People are becoming more concerned with the impact of accelerating technology on our natural world. Can thermal pollution be measured and controlled? Look within the mixture of colors, the infrared, the visible, and the ultraviolet. You are seeing industrial plants and the temperature of their discharges into rivers and lakes. Can you detect pollution by gases, sometimes invisible? And notice this international boundary where one nation's air pollution flows invisibly across the border into another nation. Can you measure pollution by solid waste? Recognizing acid waste, sludge, and sewage by their spectral responses is a step toward improving our environment. Geography problems include knowing how the Earth is changing due to natural causes and due to man-made causes. In this area of several states of dense population, you see much healthy vegetation. You can analyze changing land use, study urban areas, and control their development. Where are the world's mineral and land resources? What are the potential disasters, such as earthquakes and volcanoes? How can we manage our lands wisely? Multispectral images help to predict volcanic activities, also to locate and identify minerals. They locate faults in the earth that could lead to further earthquakes. You can reduce the impact of natural disasters on people and property in the United States and in other lands. Thousands of multispectral images and other data from spacecraft and aircraft. Images of your town and your land flowing to Earth for use by federal, state, and local governments. In agriculture and forestry, in oceanography and hydrology, in geology and mining, in geography and environmental sciences. Truly, Earth Resources is a whole Earth program involving many countries as well as groups of the United Nations. Information from space shared freely by the United States as requested by other nations to fit their part of the Earth. Information about weather and about Earth resources is transmitted electronically and distributed so that people in other lands can interpret the resources of their country. With multispectral systems, we are beginning the first steps to take a continuous running inventory of the whole Earth, to increase food supplies by reducing losses due to blight and disease, and to help in cleaning the air we breathe, to help solve many problems on our precious Earth. We do not know yet all we will learn about Earth resources with these new instruments. Like Galileo's telescope, these systems will lead us to new discoveries which are not predictable. Systems for seeing many bands of visible and invisible colors, for seeing single frequency colors, and for recognizing spectral patterns found in the color coming from the whole Earth. Perhaps now you can see what you must do to the whole Earth so your children's children will be able to tell it.
You are watching Sleepcore, media for sleep.
You have 10 minutes till showtime. You've seen the show. It was quite a treat. But now you'd like something to eat, so right this way to the concession stand serving Castleberry's, the best in the land. Yes, sir. Castleberry's is real southern barbecue. Choice cuts of meat slowly cooked over open pits of smoldering oak coals for honest-to-goodness barbecue flavor. You'll also find hot coffee, cold soft drinks, and delicious ice cream in our snack bar to go with your Castleberry sandwich. Just look at that generous helping of rich, juicy barbecue. Yum, yum. For a real taste thrill, Castleberry's barbecue will fill the bill.
The next show will start in 9 minutes.
Golden, pure creamery butter, rich, flavorful, satisfying. That's what it takes for the finest buttered popcorn, and that's what we use. See for yourself why there's no Showtime treat to equal the crisp, delicious flavor of hot popcorn that's bathed in real melted butter. It's at the concession stand now.
Now listen, now listen, now listen. I'm the Dairy Queen, won't you come with me along the milkshake way? I've got lots of good surprises, fresh and yummy for you every day. There are malts and shakes and sundaes too, whenever you stop. And of course your very, very favorite, the cone with the curl on top.
You don't have to just dream about Dairy Queen. Your favorite Dairy Queen treat is a refreshing reality at your nearest Dairy Queen store.
The next show will start in 8 minutes.
Hey! They're ready, folks.
For refreshment that is great. If it's early or it's late, it's Orange Crush. Orange Crush, the drink that's extra good. Fresh fruit flavor. That's for me. It tastes better. Naturally. Orange Crush, Orange Crush, get some right away.
Visit our refreshment stand right away for delicious Orange Crush and all kinds of good things to eat.
Oh, the time is now, the time is here. Now's the time for a bite of cheer. A tasty light where the price is right. Well, look a here, you'll dig this sight. The moment's handy for a piece of candy. Just name your brand, they're all so grand. Hey, what do you think of a nice cool drink? Or a big box filled with a popcorn thrill? Let your taste buds meet with an ice cream treat. Refresh yourselves, it's time to eat. So come on, folks, let's join the band as we all head for the refreshment stand.
10, 9, 8, 7 minutes to go.
Let's play That's Treat. Da 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 da. Oh, you're it. No, I'm not. Come on. I'm it. 1, that's 2, that's 3, that's treat. 4, that's 5, that's 6, that's treat. 7, that's 8, that's 9, that's treat. That's treat chocolate drink. Oh, that's treat chocolate drink, please. That's treat drink so good. I want some. Me too. Everybody loves it. So good. It's good hot or cold. Mom and Dad love it. So, get that sweet chocolate drink at the snack bar now.
Still plenty of time to come and be served at the refreshment center before showtime.
The next show will start in 6 minutes.
With mustard and relish.
'cause she'll guarantee mouth-watering satisfaction. And now he slips his costume on a beautiful golden bun. There's his cue to go out on stage.
He's the natural.
He's the rage. Meet this person that'll see at our refreshment counter. Treat the family.
Something different for a change? Then try the perfect refreshment. Chili Dilly, a delicious pickle treat that's spiced just right for every bite. Economical, too. There's no waste. You eat every bit of the juicy goodness of Chili Dilly. How about trying one right now? Chili Dilly, on sale at our concession stand. You'll love them.
You have 5 minutes till showtime. Time for refreshment. Refreshment. For your enjoyment, there's hot, fresh popcorn, tempting, delicious hot dogs, and so many kinds of ice cream. And, of course, sparkling, delicious, ice-cold Coca-Cola for everybody at the refreshment counter now. Remember, your favorite snack will taste especially good with world-famous ice-cold Coca-Cola.
It's refreshment time, folks. Time out for a delicious snack in our sparkling refreshment building. Every item a fresh, appetizing taste treat. Fresh popcorn, delicious and crisp, with or without butter. Sizzling hot dogs, bursting with juicy goodness. Tender, tasty hamburgers with all the trimmings. French fries, crisp and golden brown. Thirst-quenching, refreshing, ice-cold drink.
There's plenty of time to treat yourself to something good to eat at our refreshment center.
The show begins in just 4 minutes.
And now, meet the star of our show. Symbol of a treat that quality made famous. America's most famous ice cream treat. Eskimo pie. Creamy, delicious ice cream made even more exciting with smooth, rich chocolate coating. And wearing the label of quality, known the world over. Eskimo pie, the treat you know is tops because it carries its pledge of quality right on the back of the bag. Be sure you save the bags for valuable premiums. Get famous Eskimo pie at our refreshment stand now. It's America's anytime taste treat. Finest ice cream, finest chocolate. It's delicious.
Our hamburgers are the finest. Quality beef expertly prepared for extra deliciousness. Treat yourself royally right now. What a hamburger.
The next show will start in 3 minutes.
Like you crave that corn when it's freshly bobbed, you gotta beat it to the box with the butter on the top. Get with it, man. Start strolling down to the sweets that set you rolling, the best in town. Our candy's real gone, if I'm understood. To all you squares, that means the confection is positively delicious. Cork that stuff. Give me 5. Let me send you into this nutty jive. Go, man, go. It ain't very far. Shake it on down to this cool snack bar. Come on, Jill, give us a treat. A friendly pepper-upper with a tasty beat. Drink down
Dr. Pepper, Dr. Pepper, 'cause it never lets you down.
Frosty, man, Frosty.
Only 2 minutes left.
Give them a faith to live by. Worship this week.
The whole family's getting together to show Dad how much he's appreciated. It's so nice to have a man around the house. But here's an extra surprise. Somebody's treating the whole family to the most enjoyable gift of all. Get the hint? Take Dad and the family on a pleasure-filled outing to the movies at our special Father's Day show, Sunday, June 21st.
You get more out of life when you go out to a movie.
It's 1 minute till showtime.
We hope you're enjoying your visit here this evening. Now, on with the show.
This beauty packs a lot of power. The power to teach, the power to reveal, the power to tell through sight and sound. The projector is a tool, an efficient, rugged, easy to use tool. Ah, but the proof is in the running. So, swing out the folding reel arms, fasten the drive belts, and it's ready to thread. Oh yes, don't forget the film. This projector is the easiest and fastest to thread. Most people can do it in 30 seconds or less. Whoa now, just a minute. Do that again a little slower. First, feed the film under the first sprocket. These sprockets have twice the teeth of most sprockets, thus less wear and tear on the film. And the spring-loaded sprocket shoe keeps the film firmly but gently in place. Form the upper loop and pass the film through the heart of the projector, the easy access gate. Here the film is engaged by the stellite claw. Stellite, one of the hardest metals known to man, never wears out, never tears the film. The film is gently embraced by a nylon pressure pad fore and aft, relieved to reduce wear, easy to reach for cleaning. Close the gate, form the lower loop to the guide marker, and pass it over the dynamically balanced sound drum where the sound is picked up. Thread the film under the lower sprocket. There are only two in this machine. Under a damper roller, which helps prevent film breakage, and onto the even tension take-up, which adds the ultimate in-film protection. And now for a running test to get everything set. Turn the new fuse-saving power switch to start the motor. Listen how quiet it runs. And now, the lamp. Adjust and lock the focus. And adjust the sound. Adjust the tilt to align the picture on the screen. And turn it off. Now, run the projector in reverse, back to the beginning. Yes, this projector gives you reverse operation with complete safety to the film. And now, all that's needed is an audience. Your RCA projector is ready to run, and it will keep on running, day in and day out, with minimum care. Low-cost maintenance, proved through life testing, is this machine's hidden asset. A heavy-duty induction motor, no brushes to wear out, accurate, constant speed, sealed bearings, lubricated for life. The projection lamp, easy to replace. And the entire exciter lamp assembly swings out for lamp replacement or cleaning. When the show's over, rewind the film by turning a single knob. No reels to change, no belts to move. That's it, the new RCA 16mm sound projector. Fast threading. Quiet running. Gentle to film. Full, rich sound from a big 15-watt amplifier. A clear, bright picture. A real powerhouse. Quality built to last for years. In short, a snap. Come on, try your hands on this machine. You'll love it.
You're watching Sleepcore, media for sleep.
We are inside a traditional storing house of information. All the memories of the world, all the records of our culture have been arranged in orderly fashion. As consumers of knowledge, we have the privilege of entering the past, selecting a portion which we may think useful. We remain anonymous in the face of this vast accumulation. Our consumption has a pleasing passivity to it. Of course, no storage mechanism is perfect.
We face a very simple problem, the decline of literacy. which anyone can see in the latest test scores. Students who are ill at ease with language or just plain scared of poetry. They realize it's a particular and specialized form of discourse. The irony is that it may be the best way to help them sharpen their skills, but you can't coerce them. We have other problems of our own, of course. It's not simply the students' problem. We're short on resources and manpower. We cannot give students the individual attention that might help them over this difficult spot. And we also have not been really good at inventing new techniques in the classroom that might make poetry more attractive to the timid student. At Brown, we're trying a new solution using a system developed by a computer scientist, Andy Van Dam, which can take poetic materials and other associated things and store it in a cross-referenced manner which will enable students to have access to a poem itself, to background materials, other poems related, poems from the tradition of poetry, critical materials, things that will help the student to see the poem in a full context and understand it in its roots and its ramifications. Using this system, we hope that we can take some of the fear of poetry out of the student, and also that we can solve some of our own problems of communication and innovation in the classroom, that we'll be able to put students in contact with one another through the system about the poetic materials, and that instructors and students will also achieve a higher level of communication and a greater understanding of the materials involved.
In preparing for the computer-based course, the first step is to gather the raw materials, the primary and secondary texts. The instructor selects manuscripts and portions of manuscripts that relate best to the central themes of the course. Then the material is organized, given an initial structure. The poetry course material is broken into 12 units, each of which concentrates on a particular poem. The students will have 3 sessions with each unit. At the first session, they will view only the poem which is central to the unit. At the second session, they will view material to place the poem in context. This material includes biographical and genre information, other poems by the same poet, and poems by other poets which influenced or have been influenced by the central poem. At the third session, secondary source material will be added. After reading some or all of the material in each session, the student will add his or her comments to the information available at the next session. The instructors and students will all have an opportunity to add comments and questions to evaluate and critique each other's work. Each new arrangement of a text provides the opportunity for something greater than simple transmission. If various texts can be interestingly arranged, juxtaposed, fitted with each other, and played off against each other, the process of reading a text can be made concrete, and the text itself may no longer be isolated, pristine, and inviolate, but manifold and pluralistic. This web of interrelated text is called a hypertext. The computer system we use to create and manipulate hypertext is called FRES.
FRES, which is the computer system being used in the poetry course, takes no particular training in order to operate it beyond an ability to type. And we use the keyboard to specify commands to the system which set up questions, insert comments, and browse through the system in a manner to set up dialogues. A dialogue not only with poetry, but also with professors, with other students in the course. This dialogue feature can be used as little or as much as possible at the student's own behest, and he can use initials of himself or of other students to browse selectively through a particular set of comments or a particular set of questions. And furthermore, what is really exciting is he can blaze a new trail by looking at themes or images in a set of poems and entering his thoughts into the hypertext for others. This kind of selective browsing and adding to the creative graffiti, you might call it, we hope to use to develop a different kind of community with professors and students working together to develop a true process of learning. Using the system is a straightforward procedure. The student identifies himself and types in the session name and the unit number, and then lets the computer subdivide the screen into up to 4 sections, which we call windows. The main poem then appears in one of the windows, and it is as if it were on a scroll. The reader can cause the computer to move the text in through the window. Now, when he comes to a spot in reading where there is a reference to secondary material, a special marker appears and a little teaser next to the marker which explains what would be seen if that option were taken. The instructor can control how many of those options actually appear on the screen, but the student has the choice of which to follow and which not. Now, it's a little bit like choosing a good Chinese meal. The student can stick to the tried and true, but we of course encourage him to be as adventurous as possible. In the same manner that he does browsing, he can also use the light pen and the keyboard to enter in a response or ask a question. We're aware that some students might actually revel in the gymnastics of a sophisticated writing and retrieval system like this. Now, we don't want to subordinate material to the system, nor is the system merely being used to provide an alternative to a classroom experience. What we are striving for is to make a flexible system with lots of interesting material so that we may serve the needs of a genuinely contemporary student. Now notice that an equal burden falls to the system and to the student. The student cannot be passive. The system responds to the student, and after a while the technical machinations do disappear. But for the system to function, to really function, it needs animating human presence.
I don't know how you feel about it, but being an English major or a humanities major of any sort, I guess, I had, I guess, some prejudices about using a computer and using all the scientific jargon and all that, you know. I think, though, that the technical aspects of it introduce, it's fun in a lot of ways to do all little stuff that has no relation to poetry. And I've also come to think, since I've completed the course, that there is something aesthetically pleasing about those little green lights on the screen, don't you think?
We started out thinking of the hypertext system, the press system, as a way of organizing materials for the student that might be more efficient than a combination of textbooks and library reserve book rooms and all that kind of thing. We discovered, as we were using the system, that what we had here was a communications instrument of extraordinary richness and subtlety, something that changed the whole dynamic of the course.
That was one of the questions I had about poetry. I didn't see how they could get a course that I thought was emotional and sensitive and combine it with a computer, which I thought was so cold.
Yeah. You said something about that before when we talked about it in class, about how you read it out loud when you can. Yeah, I started doing that.
Did you? Did you find it helpful?
Yeah, a lot. It sounded pretty good.
One of the things that we accomplished that I think is so rarely accomplished in poetry courses that it's almost an embarrassment was that we, I think in most cases, freed the students of fear of poetry. Their gains in confidence, which show in the way they wrote about poetry and the way they talked about poetry, were extraordinary. And this confidence is a direct result of all of that intercommunication.
Well, there wouldn't be so much response and response to your response from the instructor kind of thing.
Individual attention.
Yeah. It kind of puts you in a position where you definitely have to sit down and say, now what do I think about this poem? Well, in another situation, you might be given the assignment to prepare it for class and be ready to discuss it, or write one paper, let's say, for the week on this thing. Here you really develop it and have to think it over and over again. I found that pretty helpful.
I think one thing that really makes this course great is the fact that you don't have to go to the library and dig out all types of research materials and reference books and one thing and another. It's right there make you a little jump up from lunch and you're all set.
Yeah.
I like that.
The amount of material in there is staggering. When you think about all the sessions that we've had and all the jumps that are in there, it's more than you could ever even think of using. And I don't know, it amazes me.
We've been getting more work from students than they normally would perform in comparable courses, I think. And I doubt seriously if it's possible to get more work from students without faculty putting in more work to meet that, because the students have written so much. We have had to read so much and write so much in response to the students. If our comments on their responses had fallen short at any point, had been inadequate or seemed perfunctory, I doubt if the caliber of their responses would have continued to improve as it has over the course of the semester. The course, in that respect, demands a good deal of time. What we save on classroom time, we put back in response time on the system.
I also find that I read much more quickly. I'm on using the hypertext because I just know that I have to get a certain amount of material in 2 hours, and I really force myself to concentrate on it and pace myself.
Of course, given the kind of system we had, we know who used what and how much they used it and what kind of use they made of it. We also know what kind of comments all the instructors involved made in responding to the students. We just know much more about what happened than we ever know what happens in any ordinary course. And I have a feeling that if we knew what happens in some courses that weren't taught on this system, we would be appalled at the actual results of those courses.
My whole attitude towards poetry has changed quite a bit. I feel it used to frighten me to look at poetry, and I never knew where to begin, and I always felt it was above my head. But now when I read poems, I have a general sort of a process about how to begin, and I think of the sessions and questions that were brought up, and I feel much more sure about it, and I really love it.
I do too.
We can expect to teach much better and to produce students who are better readers of poetry and feel more confident about poetry. I think that's a sufficient justification for what we've done.
And now, folks, it's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.